Heat up the butter before you put the onions in the pan. You want the butter to kind of start foaming up a little bit. It'll really bring out a sweeter, deeper flavor. The butter I like to use is Kerrygold butter, and the more butter you add, the better it'll taste. Of course, you can also use beef tallow or say olive oil or avocado oil if you'd like. I might steer away from coconut oil. It has a low burning point. I don't think we'll cook the soup that high, but it'll also leave kind of a coconut taste in it. I like to use yellow onions because I don't add like sweet potatoes, say, to my soup. So it just gives it a little bit more of that sweetness to balance out the flavor. Cut a sort of rainbow pattern, leaving the end intact. That little butt piece, you leave it on and you peel around the skin that you don't want to use. Throw that in the compost pile or the trash, and then just slice across. Lately, I've been throwing the onions and just anything that goes in my little compost pile into the garden. So I'm burying it in the garden, and then my boyfriend has also just been kind of tossing it on top here and there, which could bring pests, but it hasn't yet, and we don't have that much compost. So a lot of it goes to the pile or our makeshift secondary pile, and now we're putting some into the garden because we plant in ground. So I really want to get the soil to be much better and much better every year. So the more we grow, the more we can put into our foods, and it makes such a difference. Today I went out into the garden and I saw our watermelon had popped open because we had so much rain the past few days. It just got too much water and the skin couldn't keep up with the inside growth, so it popped. And the ants had found it, but I rinsed them off, and even though it was probably this big, it was so sweet and real. Like, you know how food just sometimes doesn't taste real? It tastes watery, it tastes not adequate. It was so unripe, this watermelon, and it was still so sweet. It was delicious. We ate it and it had a ton of seeds in it too. I'm also going to chop up a few peppers that I picked from my garden. I think I've got one poblano and one jalapeno out there waiting to be cooked, and that'll give the soup just a little more flavor. Anything from the garden is a good thing to put into soup. I know I said this was a poblano, but I actually think it's a jalapeno poblano cross, because I tried pollinating them by hand because we had these inside for the first and second years of their life. So I think this one's a cross. And it honestly does smell really spicy, so that's exciting. It's even starting to turn red, which is definitely something jalapenos do. You can tell that at the bottom this one wants to turn red. And then I personally save my seeds from the peppers because I'll just use them to grow more peppers. And if you do add them, just know that it'll make it quite a bit more spicy. Right after I add the jalapenos and stir them in a little bit, I'll add black pepper, cayenne pepper, or chipotle pepper, any kind of spicy seasonings. You want to add them when the onions start to turn a little more translucent, they get a little bit golden. Add your spicy ingredients and then stir. We're gonna throw some garlic in there too, and anything that you could use for health, like if you're feeling a little sick, garlic is wonderful. Ginger's another great one. I don't usually add that to soups, but if you season it a little more warm, maybe add some more cumin, it would be great. You can add lime juice too, give you that vitamin C and kind of kick out some of the sickness. After that's cooked in maybe a minute, now's a good time to add the rest of your seasonings. So I use turmeric, again, to give me that health benefit. And if you don't put too much in there, it doesn't change the flavor profile that much, but it adds some nice color and some subtle warmth. It also aids in digestion. I also use cumin, coriander, and any other spice you think would be good in there. And then I like to cook my beans a little bit longer than I cook the veggies. I like the veggies to be a little bit more crisp and the beans to be done a little bit more because they're easier to digest that way, and I use just canned black beans. So I'll put the beans in a strainer and rinse them and then put them in the soup. At this point, you can also add a bit of bone broth. Now, I use bone broth instead of just regular broth. Usually I pick up chicken because it's cheaper than beef, and it's because it has so much more protein than regular broth. It's insane. So if you want an extra protein boost, you can do that. Now, I did buy it from the store this time, but you can definitely make your own. Basically, the difference between broth and bone broth is the bone broth has been simmered a lot longer, so the nutrients from those bones and all the meat really gets into the liquid. I'll also add some soup stock because I like my soups to have a good amount of that like salty flavor, and I use the Better Than Bouillon chicken, but I'm sure you can use anything. Next, we're gonna chop up and throw in celery, carrots, and a little bit of kale. And I would go in order of celery, carrots, kale, because that's how much I like them cooked. I like my celery cooked a bit more. Carrots, I still like the crunch in them, and kale, well, it just doesn't need to cook down that much. For the kale, you want to strip it from the middle stem because the stem can just be a bit too bitter, and you can crunch it up a little bit in your hands to release some of the bitter juices it has before tossing it in the soup. After the veggies are looking really good and it's all soaked up some of that seasoning, then you can add even more bone broth until it's about covering the vegetables and all the beans. And I like my soup a little bit thicker, so I'll go through the process of cooking it down, which also enhances the flavor greatly, which is you just turn it up to where it's kind of bubbling, and breaking the surface tension by constantly stirring as much as you feel like it will speed up the process and also keep more nutrients in the soup because it's less heat going to them. We just want as much steam to evacuate the soup, and that will just bring the flavor up and the water content down a little, so everything's soaking up that good nutrients. And then when the top of the soup starts to get a little bit white and foamy, that's when I know the soup is ready to eat. And I serve it, I like cheese in mine, but my boyfriend doesn't. And you could do fresh cilantro. We like to use Greek yogurt to add a little bit of extra protein. Oh, and I forgot. This time I'm adding chicken thighs to it. You can add whatever kind of protein you want. You can use beef, turkey, tofu, whatever your mind can think of, bison. But I like the whole chicken tortilla soup idea, which, speaking of, you can also add tortilla chips. And bam, you got yourself a soup.